Hola! Welcome to Viva Spanish. We are so excited to have you on board with us as a substitute teacher. This module will talk about everything you need to know for going in to be a substitute teacher with Viva Spanish. Hi, my name is Hannah Riley, and I am the Director of Programs and Operations with Viva Spanish. So first thing I want to talk about is just some of the basics. Remember that when you go in, you are representing Viva Spanish language programs. So you should always be at your best when you're going in to be a substitute. You should always make sure to watch your language and make sure that you are dressed appropriately. Proper attire would include dress pants or knee-length skirts or dresses. You should always look professional. Do not wear jeans unless you've been specifically told that it's a jeans day at the school. And make sure that, if you are a smoker, that you are covering up with cologne or perfume, just so that way, it's not obvious to the students or to the school. So when you arrive at the school, you should go into the office and introduce yourself to the secretary. They'll be able to get you set and direct you where you are supposed to go. It's always a good idea to arrive at least 15 minutes early before your first class so that way you can get there and get all settled in. Some teachers are traveling teachers, which means that they go from classroom to classroom. Other teachers have their own classroom, which you would be set up to go into. So your secretary will be able to help you determine which of those is true for you. So we'll have two different situations where we might call you in as a substitute. You will either be called prior to the day if we know that a teacher is maybe about to go out of town or has a scheduled appointment or something like that. We will always try as soon as possible to see if we might be able to get somebody in to be a substitute. There's also the instance where possibly we don't know that they're going to be calling off, but then they get sick or their child gets sick and they need a sub at the last minute. So occasionally we do have subs that we call the morning of and have them jump in for that. So when we send you into sub, whether it's pre-planned or not, we always try to get you a couple different things. The schedule, the school information and address, and the secretary and principal's contact information. We also try to have our teacher send a lesson plan for you, so that way you have something that you can work with throughout the course of the day. In addition to that, you also will have a substitute binder that has some different backup activities, in case the substitute lesson is not long enough or just not beefy enough and you need some more things to supplement what they've sent you. You'll have that as well. We also do recommend that our teachers, substitutes, bring a computer with them if you have one. It's nice to have the computer to use and connect to a projector. So if the teacher already has a computer or a desktop computer in the classroom, they'll let you know that ahead of time so you don't have to bring it. But if you're not sure but you have a computer, I always recommend that you bring that in along with your sub binder, just so that way you have a couple of resources backing you up as you go into the school. So in the instance where the absence is planned, we would have called you ahead of time and gotten all the information to you, hopefully much sooner than the day of the substitute. So we would send you all of the information, and then we would have the teacher send a substitute lesson plan. So when they send this to you, you'll have it ahead of time. You can look it over, ask any questions, get in communication with the teacher to make sure that everything is on task. Sandy sends the schedule, the principal information, all of those things, again, prior to the day of. If you are subbing at a school where you'll have to travel from room to room, we also try to have the teacher send you some directions about that as well. When you go in with a pre-planned subbing day, we have you use the lesson plans that are provided to deliver that lesson, and we just ask that you get through as much of the lesson as possible, and then you just jot down some notes to provide back to the teacher about how much you got through and just how the lesson went overall. In the event that you are able to get through the entire lesson and still have time remaining in your class, we've got a few basic activities that we can give for you in addition to what you have in your binder, just so that way you can kind of, fill that time and actually use the time for Spanish instruction. So these activities, I'm going to show you a couple of them, but all of them are great because they go over topics that all of our students have had before, and they also are things that you don't necessarily need materials for. So for the students in the younger grades, it's always a great activity to have them walking around, asking them, where are the colors? ¿Dónde está rojo? And asking them, where are the colors? And they pretty much have all learned the colors. So you can say the different colors and have them walk around and point to those colors within the classroom. You can also do Simon Says. You can do it with colors, you can do it with command words, anything like that. And the kids generally really enjoy playing Simon Says as a game. With the command words, you can also play Follow the Leader, where you would be the leader and have the students in a line, and you would say different command words, and they would have to follow the leader and do those commands. All of your students also know numbers. So you can say, I'm thinking of a number between, 1 and, I don't know, however high they know how to count. And then you teach them, más and menos. And so they are guessing the different numbers, and you tell them, no, it's not cinco, it's más que cinco. It's more than 5. So that's another fun game that you can play with the kids to have them trying to, guess what number you're thinking of. With the older kids, I like to do alphabet activities, and so with that, I would review the different alphabet, how to say them with the students, and then after we reviewed them, I might have, I might spell out some words for the students and see if they can figure out what I'm spelling. So, for example, B-A-L-L. And they have to tell me that I'm spelling the word ball. So usually I'll spell English words, but I'll spell them in Spanish, and the kids seem to really enjoy that. Another activity with the alphabet is to have them figure out how to spell their own name out loud in Spanish. That's another thing that the kids tend to really enjoy. So as you can see, all of these activities are pretty simple, and they're nice because they don't require any materials. You can also, if you do have a computer, go on to go on to YouTube, and you can search for Basho and Friends, and you'll find some fun different songs and activities that you can play for the kids. So that's another nice thing to do and have in your back pocket if you have a little bit of extra time. All right, so now let's discuss what would happen if you were sent into a class last minute, the day of, and had little to no prepared materials from the regular teacher. So maybe they, sent a slightly inadequate lesson plan, or it was an emergency and we just didn't get you a lesson at all. In that case, what you would do is you would really focus your activities around what we call Unit 0. So Unit 0 are the topics that all of our students are introduced to every single year at the beginning of the school year. So any of these different topics should be free game to use for the base of your activities with the students. So Unit 0 includes, in the religious schools, the prayer, Me llamo, ¿cómo estás? Command words, colors, numbers, alphabet, calendar, days of the week, months of the year, weather, and the seasons. So those are going to be the topics that you can use to do activities with the students. With all of these topics, you can use any of the activities listed above. So here's an example of a lesson that I would use, and then I would just hybrid it to make it appropriate for the different grade levels K through 8. So I would open with the prayer if I was going to a religious school. So I would just have the students help me in leading the prayer. So I have a couple of volunteers who would get up and help me with that. Then for Me llamo, I would go around the class and have every student introduce themselves. So I would say, Me llamo Señorita Riley, ¿Cómo te llamas tú? And then they would go around and say, maybe in kindergarten they would just respond with their name, but in, the older grades they would say the full phrase, Me llamo Señorita Riley. Then I would talk about ¿Cómo estás? And maybe draw the faces up on the board and have them tell me which faces, which emotions they know. And we would talk about them, and I would have the kids make the faces for me, and we would talk about, the different responses that they know. So then I would talk about some command words, see which ones they know, write them on the board maybe, marcha, camina, salta, baila, siéntense, párense, and then once we talk about the ones that they know, then we would play Simon Says. With the colors, I would review the colors, maybe write them up on the board, and then I would play Donde están los colores. I would do that probably with the younger kids. With the older kids, I, might just have them, I would say it in Spanish and have them write the English meaning down on a piece of paper. For the numbers, again, I would play I'm thinking of a number, or maybe I would make some basic math problems, addition and subtraction, again with más and menos to practice the numbers. With the months, I might pull up the Basho and Friends Months of the Year video on YouTube and play that for the students and have them watch it and sing along if they know it. Then maybe I would find the Days of the Week song for Basho and Friends, and again, if they know it, they can sing with it. I would talk about what the meaning is of hoy, maybe hoy, ayer, and mañana, and then we would talk about qué día es hoy, and maybe talk about what month it is, what season it is, things like that. Then for the alphabet, I would play the YouTube video for the alphabet song. And again, with the older kids, maybe have them spell out words or spell out their name, things like that. You can also have kids use numbers to tell you their address or their birthday or their phone number, things like that. Kids really enjoy when they get to take the Spanish words that they know and then apply it to something relevant in their own life. So I would get through as much of these activities as I could in each of the classes, and just depending on the length of the time and the age of the students, you might get through more or less. But it's always good to have more planned, so that way you don't find yourself at the end, trying to fill the time. So I would get through as much of this as I could, and then I would just make notes of what I did for each class, so that way the teacher would have an idea when they returned the following week. So behavior is always something that's a little tricky for a substitute, because kids see you and see that, oh, I'm going to be able to get away with more than normal. One great way to manage a group is to write the word waggle on the board, and if the students are not behaving, you erase a letter or part of a letter, and you tell them that they need to have at least one letter left on the board, so that way at the end of class they get to play a game or do something fun, a fun activity. So that's kind of a good way for them to see if they're on track to get to play that fun game or that fun activity. Another thing that you can do is clap. And the students almost universally know to clap back at you and be silent after you have done the clap. If you are trying to get the kids to be silent, if you are doing the clap, or if you are just, standing there waiting for them to be silent, it's really important to make sure that you don't continue with your lesson until they actually are completely silent. Wait for crickets. Like, you need an awkward silence, and then you begin again. So that way they know that you are serious about actually wanting them to be quiet. Make sure that you demand the respect that you deserve when you're in there being a sub, because we don't want them to walk all over you. But at the end of the day, I just want you to enjoy the experience. It's super fun and super cool to be a substitute teacher for Spanish. You get to go in there and have fun and inspire kids to love Spanish language and culture. I don't really think that there's anything that could possibly be more cool to do with your day. So just remember that it's meant to be a fun, great experience for you as well as for the kids. And at the end of the day, each class is only 30 to 40 minutes, and then they're gone and a new group comes in. So no matter how good or bad it goes, it's temporary, and the kids leave, and then you get to restart with a whole new group of kids. So there's just that that little bit to keep in the back of your mind. But have fun with it, enjoy it, and keep our team in the loop as the day progresses, so that we can help you with anything you need. If you have any questions about teaching or being in the schools, this is our contact information. It's available to you, so feel free to contact us. Kelly Dibble and Sandy Dibble are going to be your primary contacts, but I am also available if you ever have any questions about subbing or what to do with your classes. All right, gracias, adios.